Got a big weekend coming up for Alabama football, and could the weekend start off with a bang?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Thanks for making us your first listen and watch every single day. Jimmy, huge weekend for Alabama when it comes to football visits. I mean, just huge. And look, it's going to keep the trend going, I think, of all these early commitments. And we're going to talk about one that may pop sooner rather than later. But for right now, let's talk about all the guys that are coming in this weekend.
There are 10, and I don't have the list in front of me, but yet I think I can remember all 10 because it's that sort of a weekend. There is Dawson Merritt, who is an outstanding outside linebacker from Kansas City, Missouri, whose dad is a coach for the Chiefs. I love Dawson Merritt. I think he's fantastic. Just one of those players that even though he is rated very high nationally, I don't even know that it does him justice. I mean, I think Dawson Merritt is just an outstanding prospect, both on and off the field. He would be a huge pickup. He could commit following the visit. So he's a guy that I would say, that we're monitoring, probably deciding between Alabama and Nebraska. And I think this is his last official visit. So there will be a decision pretty soon from Dawson Merritt after that visit. Michael Carroll is also visiting, interior offensive line prospect from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area. Great player. Give On three a lot of credit here, who had him ranked very highly before all the other services. Now everybody else is catching up, but Michael Carroll is an elite prospect. I think he's outstanding with a potential NFL future.
Let me stop you on these two guys. First of all, the interesting thing to me is the first guy is between Alabama and Nebraska. 40 years ago, everybody had been like, oh, God, it's the big one. And then I think over the last 39 years, people would be like, 39, 29, somewhere in there.
Yeah, he just loves that coaching staff.
Yeah, but now I think it's back to being yay. I mean, Nebraska is not exactly going to challenge for the college football playoff, right? I mean, I don't even know if they're going to get a lot better, but this staff for Nebraska is kicking chicken. I mean, they're getting after it. They're taking their big swings. Now, it's tough to recruit to Nebraska. It may not have been when Tom Osborne was there, but times have changed, and it is very difficult to recruit there. But they've gotten Dylan Raiola. Yes, I know they had a family connection, all this other stuff. But when you get a high-profile quarterback like that, dominoes can begin to fall. And let's also remember Dawson Merritt is from Kansas. So, I mean, if you say, wow, what's in Nebraska? Well, what's in Kansas? I mean, the guy's probably like, yeah, I mean, I'm used to this kind of having nothing. And I'm not saying – what I'm saying is there are people who have taken shots. I saw Mike Moscano or whatever, that LSU guy, saying, oh, Alabama's really falling off because they flipped a guy from SMU. That's a guy who doesn't keep up with recruiting. And if anybody said, ooh, Alabama beat Nebraska out for a guy, they're falling off. They don't keep up with recruiting because this dude is a dude. And secondly, the last guy we got from Philadelphia turned out pretty well in Christian Barmore. And it just struck me as I don't know how many top prospects the metro area of Philly puts out a year. I'm sure they put out some for sure. I mean, it's a big place. But the only two I can think of recently are DeAndre Swift and Christian Barmore. Can you think of anybody else?
Naquil Bertrand, who's on our football team now, but okay. I mean, is he a big time prospect? No. I mean, he's just an interesting developmental prospect, but it is sort of strange that a metro area the size of Philadelphia wouldn't produce a ton of football players. I think they do produce a ton of basketball players, but maybe it's the weather, maybe it's funding, maybe it's just kids are uninterested in football in that area, in the Philadelphia area. I think the state of Pennsylvania produces quite a few players, but the metro areas of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, I don't think produce players in great numbers. But Michael Carroll is from the Philadelphia area, and he is outstanding. Not inner city Philadelphia. I think he's from a suburb, but Michael Carroll is going to be on campus this weekend. Is another guy that we think at BOL is an Alabama lean, and Alabama could seal the deal with him. That could happen or there could be a bigger announcement later this summer. But Michael Carroll is someone to watch. Duke Johnson's visiting. He's already committed. We know him. Jaden Harmon already committed. We know him. We've talked about him earlier in the week. Douglas Utu is an offensive lineman from Bishop Gorman in Nevada. We haven't talked about him a lot at all. I don't know that Alabama's in great shape for him, although any kid that's officially visiting could choose Alabama. There's no doubt that's possible. We just hadn't talked about him a lot because he just hadn't been too involved with Alabama other than, I'll do the official visit. He was being recruited by this Washington staff before the Washington staff came here, being a West Coast guy. So I think he's just giving it a look. We'll see. He's a top 100 national prospect. He would be a big deal. Who else? The running back from Chattanooga, Shekiah Mills-Knight, I think, and I'm sure I'm butchering his first name. I'm sorry about that. I don't know. He had bigger back, 6'1", 210, originally from Canada. Alabama's a significant player here for him. I think with Alabama and him, it's a matter of, is Alabama going to push for him? I think sometimes those official visits, they're still you're still making up your mind about what level of priority. Obviously, he's a priority or wouldn't have an official visit. You only get 56 of those to give to high school players and another 14, with the transfer portal guys. But the fact that he's got an official visit means he's he's on the radar. Now, is Alabama going to push for him? That's something to be determined this weekend. I would say the same thing about the safety from Phoenix that's visiting this weekend. Interesting player, much like Mills-Knight. It's just, is this a guy Alabama's going to push for? He's a safety, kind of built like a corner, very athletic. He's interesting on tape. Here's one more kid we haven't talked about enough that just knocks me out. And frankly, we should have been talking about him every day in 2024. And that's Nick Thornton, the tight end from Spring, Texas. He is a guy that could be on commitment watch to Alabama. He is a top 8 tight end, consensus top 8 in the country. Every service has him at least in the top 8. I love this guy. If you told me he was the number 1 tight end in the country, I would be on board with that. He checks every box. I think at tight end, it's hard to find a guy who's a big-time receiving threat who is also a big-time blocker. It's hard to find that guy. That guy's almost a unicorn unless you're looking in the NFL. Nick Thornton is definitely a guy that could excel at both. He is a nearly Caleb Odom level wide receiver when he plays wide receiver. Then you watch him play defense in the front 7, and he might be the most physical player on the field. So here you've got a guy with big-time receiving capability who's very comfortable mixing it up at the line of scrimmage. There's not a lot of tape of him blocking people at tight end, but there's a lot of tape of him playing defense, and he shows out his physicality doing that. So I think his upside is absolutely tremendous. It's going to have to grow a little bit. It's a little light right now for a tight end, probably in the 220 range. So you're kind of like getting Caleb Odom all over again, but a guy who's going to grow bigger and a guy who's not afraid to mix it up, at the line of scrimmage. So Nick Thornton is a guy that would definitely be on commitment watch. I doubt that's all 10 off the top of my – Naeem Offord, the cornerback from Birmingham visiting this weekend.
Mal Waldrop, did you mention him?
Did not mention Mal Waldrop, and that's another one like Mills-Knight and the DB from Phoenix, Dylan, that I with Mal Waldrop, it's like, are we really going to push for him? I like him a lot. I think there's a clear Bradley Bozeman comp here in terms of how good he might be. Similar size at the same age. He's a technician. He's a tackle at the best program in Alabama. He's the left tackle. So you got to like that alone. And he's going to be an interior. I think he's a center. He's got really good feet. He's a technician. There's a lot of want to here. I like him a lot myself. Could end up at Clemson. I think Clemson likes him a lot. Definitely fits a Clemson profile as well. But I think Mal Waldrop is a guy they're just going to take a long look at this weekend. Like, do we have the room? Is he a guy that we want to push for? Because he is an Alabama legacy player. Naeem Offord, Luke talked about him quite a bit yesterday. It's hard to find a more elite cornerback prospect than Offord. He's committed to Ohio State. Our position at BOL right now, we'll see what happens. For right now, is our position with him is it's going to be very difficult to flip him from Ohio State. But the very fact that he's agreed to do an official visit to Auburn, now to Alabama, to come to Alabama on unofficial visits on his own dime, he's clearly interested. So I guess the best way to put it is the talks will continue.
That's a very good, succinct way to put it, Jimmy.
Thank you. That's probably all 10 guys.
All right, now I want to tell you about eBay Motors. Look, passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, you're not burning cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home that huge win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. And eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to you as customers. I like one of the comparisons you did in the previous where you're talking about the Texas tight end. You said he's almost a unicorn. Is that like a horse with a knot on his head? What is that?
It's just hard. Tight end's a real difficult position to evaluate because, first of all, guys that are super athletic enough to be tight ends at the Power 4 level, when they're on a high school team, they're normally not playing tight end. They're playing another position. You're putting them somewhere else because they're like the best athlete on the team in high school. So that makes it tough. Secondly, think of what you're asking a tight end to do. You're asking the tight end was, we'd like you to run routes and get open and catch balls and be a wide receiver. But, when you're not doing that, we want you to do what the 300-pound guys do and mix it up with 280 and 290-pound athletic defenders and out-physical them. So we need you to be part wide receiver, part offensive tackle. It almost takes a unicorn to do both well. And really what you end up with is what Alabama – I'm simplifying it, but sort of what Alabama's got right now on the team, which is a couple guys who are really good blockers, but aren't dangerous receivers. And then a couple of really dangerous receivers, but they're going to struggle to get anybody blocked. But that's what you've got. It's what everybody's got, unless you've got Brock Bowers, who was the best tight end in the country. There's always going to be one or two or three guys that are really good at both, and they're great NFL prospects, right? Well, I think Nick Thornton is a guy that can be both. And he won't be both off the boat. I mean, he's going to have to work on the physical part, getting bigger, stronger, adding weight. But I think his upside as both a pass receiver and as a blocker are tremendous. So he could be that Brock Bowers type guy down the road.
All right, so let's talk about potential commitment coming up. Now, this is not something, look, it's sort of out of the bag. It's been crystal ball that Chuck McDonald from Mater Dei will be committing to Alabama. Now, is it sooner rather than later? I believe it is. And it could be literally any time, I think. This is a top 100 kid from arguably the most powerful program in the country. They're in the top 5. When you say – when you think football powerhouses, you might say Duncanville, you might say Mater Dei, you might say IMG, you might say, Thompson, whatever. But the Bishop Gorman. And the ironic thing is, all these guys we're talking about, Alabama's targeting somebody on all these teams. Now, that doesn't make Alabama special because I think everybody's targeting a lot of these dudes. But Chuck McDonald, the original Chuck McD, for those who like Public Enemy. He's a dude. And I would say he's, top 4 or 5 cornerbacks in the country and would be very fired up to get him.
Definitely would. Tim Watts at BOL, RPM'd Chuck McDonald to Alabama yesterday or the day before. I'm a big fan. You know who the Bama comp for me is kind of easy because we did this 1 year ago. And I know this isn't a great comp because most everybody hadn't seen him play yet, but he is so much like Xavier Brown. Some of it's the uniform. Some of it's the uniform and the position, another corner from modern day. But when you watch Chuck McDonald's tape, you're like, that's just Xavier Brown. That's just Xavier. He's back playing again in another number at his old high school. He's very similarly built, very similarly sized, similar athleticism, very well coached because it's modern day. He's a technician who happens to be super athletic. And look, this would give, assuming he commits to Alabama, we don't know that yet. It's just an RPM, as we call them at BOL and on 3, which means we're predicting that it's Alabama. Should it happen? What's fascinating to me, Luke, is look, there's 6 cornerbacks on Alabama's team this fall, only 6. And Chuck McDonald committing would give Alabama 2 commitments, right? So you got 6 guys in the program and 2 guys on the way. That's 8. 3 of the 8 are from modern day high school. Damani Jackson, Xavier Brown, Chuck McDonald. That's crazy. It just shows what an insanely crazy program that is at modern day that they would be producing all these guys. But B, that they're signing with Alabama the whole continent away. And I think you got to give Bryce Young a lot of credit for just kind of opening that pipeline, opening some eyes. Steve Sarkisian, who recruited Bryce to Alabama. The fact that all these modern day kids are traversing to Alabama in numbers. And let's not forget about those 3 guys I just named, Damani Jackson, Xavier Brown, Chuck McDonald, all 3 elite prospects, national top 100 or better prospects, all 3. Chuck McDonald, great. The frame the NFL is looking for at corner, really good athlete and a technician. No reason that Chuck McDonald wouldn't play early if he chose Alabama. This is a kid that could go anywhere he wants, by the way. I mean, yeah, it's Alabama, but it's tough to name a school. And probably if it wasn't Alabama, it'd probably be USC or Oregon or something. But Chuck is a outstanding top 100 prospect that'll do things like help Alabama finish with the top 3 type class. Is because of guys like Chuck McDonald.
Yeah, and what you like about that is, I mean, you would like it, I think, specifically on either the offensive line or defensive backfield, where everybody's got a good idea of where everybody will be and what their tendencies are. So if you are playing a zone, maybe you know where this guy's weakness is because you've been playing with him for so many years in high school. Now, again, what I haven't done is gone back and checked, okay, how many of these guys transferred into modern day and how long have they actually played together? But I do like the symmetry of it all.
Cool picture. I think they were at the bowling. They take these official visitors bowling, those that like to bowl. And there was a cool picture in the bowling alley last week of Chuck, Xavier Brown, and Damani Jackson all together. So they're the modern day guys are tight and they're recruiting each other here.
I like that a lot. All right. When we come back, Jimmy, we're going to get into another one of your countdown guys, Mr. Bray Hubbard. Bray Hubbard, interesting cat. Sort of one of those that everybody's just intrigued by him. And I think people believe he has a lot of potential. Haven't seen a lot out of him yet, obviously. But what do you think? You've got him higher than some other dudes who I would think most people would say are better players. Now, even if they haven't seen them, that's just my take on it.
Yeah. He's 58, kind of mid-range here for a couple of reasons. Number one, he's going to play a lot on special teams. I mean, I think that's by the end of last year, Bray Hubbard was one of Alabama's more vital special teams players. That will continue. He was on the field special teams wise as a true freshman, even in the Georgia game in Atlanta, even in the Michigan game in Pasadena. So Bray turned into a crucial special teams player. That will continue. He had put himself in a position, I think, to really contribute at safety. He had a nice spring. I thought he was good on A-Day. All the word we hear from inside the program is all extremely positive about him as a person and as a player. Pretty good A-Day. I think the reason I would be honest, in like the very first initial draft of this list, he was actually about 15 spots higher, to be honest, which is saying a lot. But he had to fall a little bit because Alabama did so much work in the portal at safety. Keon Sabb and is going to start. He's from the portal. And then Alabama brings in guys like Cam Howard from Charlotte. They bring in Matt King from or King Mac. Is it King Mac or Matt King? I butcher that all the time. Why do I butcher that all the time? Because I think I said it wrong the very first time, 3 months ago.
Well, Matt King seems like more of a real name. King Mac seems like a nickname.
Yeah, maybe that's where I get that from. But boy,
that's what I think. I mean, if you said, "Hey, I know Matt King," okay. Well, I know King Mac. Well, la-di-da. I mean, Mr. Fancy, know-it-all, everybody.
I obviously don't know him. I can't remember which one's his first name and which one's his last. That's as bad as not knowing someone as you can get.
Let's do this. We won't really know which one he is till he gets on the field. Because if he's good, he'll be King Mac. If he's he'll be Matt King.
At least one of the names will be on the back of his jersey, so I know the first name is the one that's not on the back of the jersey, and at least we know both names.
And I don't think there's another Mac or another King, is there? So
no, not on our team. So it won't be both.
If you really just want to get out of it, and I do this all the time, where you meet somebody or you see a friend you haven't seen in a while. And excuse me, there'll be some people that know, yeah, Luke does this to me. I'm telling a secret on myself. I call everybody Buddy. Okay. And if your name is Buddy, I'm just
nailed it.
Betting 1,000. But if your name's not Buddy, it still works. And so I'm horrible at remembering names. I'm horrible at remembering stuff. So yeah, so if you really want to, but I do go on the radio, I do a podcast sometimes. And so you got to remember some things, but even when I'm on the radio and I forget something, I forgot the radio host name the other day. And I was like, "Buddy, thanks for having me on there." And he was like,
"That worked."
Yeah, no, it worked. It worked great.
Well, let's call Matt King Mac, Buddy.
I do have. Can I tell you a quick story before you get into this? Oh, yeah. All right, there is a guy named Buddy King in Alexander City with me. Super nice dude, big Alabama fan, and
like him already.
Yeah, I mean, really nice guy. And this story makes no sense, but he's actually been president of Lake Martin Bama Club, which I have too, and it's awesome. And he has done a marvelous job with that. Can't say enough good things. But there was a funny story about how one time it was during the Alabama Ole Miss game of 2014. We're at my house in Alexander City, me and my parents and a couple other friends. And as we're watching the game, Buddy King always says things. He always says something is unbelievable. Everybody's got like their own catchphrase. His is unbelievable. Okay. And he'll go, "Hey, Buddy, how are you doing today? Unbelievable. Hey, Buddy, how was that movie last night? Unbelievable." And so whenever somebody says unbelievable that's not Buddy King, me and my friends always go, "Buddy King called," because you're saying something's unbelievable. Well, during that Alabama Ole Miss game in 2014, you remember when Cyrus Jones picked up a fumble and ran in for a touchdown?
I do.
Okay. And we said, "Unbelievable." And I said, "Buddy King called." And my mom goes, "What the hell did he want? Like why did he call you?" And I'm like, "He didn't call. That's the whole thing." And I mean, it was just this thing. So now every time I see my friends and somebody says unbelievable, I say Buddy King called, and they go, "What the hell did he want?" It makes no sense to anybody outside of about 5 people. And the story is stupid. I don't know why I just told you. I'm sorry. Keep going on.
It's probably Cyrus Jones' least favorite story about that play.
He did face mask that. He face masked him for sure. But anyway, go ahead.
Bray Hubbard. Pretty unbelievable player.
Buddy King called.
Bray is actually, he had a good spring, and I was going to rank him about 15 spots higher because I was thinking Bray is a solid number 2 safety, and I think he could pull that off and be the number 2 safety and play a lot of special teams. However, again, the portal, King Mac, Cam Howard, Keon Sabb, that's 3 guys at safety. I'm a big Drake Kirkpatrick guy. Red Morgan shows up and is one of these stories of the spring, playing a safety position. Now, of course, he's moved to Husky, but really we're playing safeties at that Husky spot. So I think Bray Hubbard has a future at Alabama. I'm not going to be surprised when he's a future starter at safety. I think he's that level of player. and he's going to be a critical part of special teams. So that's why I have him here at 58, ahead of some people that might surprise people. But I feel I'm underrating him at 58 because I think he's going to be a player on the team this fall that we count on, mostly on special teams, because I think safety is pretty well spoken for.
By the way, you mentioned Dre Kirkpatrick, and that jogged my memory. I don't know if this is a joke, but on Instagram, I think Mbakwe, Dre Kirkpatrick Jr., and Ryan Williams said they are going to start their own players podcast.
I did see that. Yeah,
and
that's not good for us.
No. I could go two ways with this, Jimmy. My first thought was, hey, don't be cutting into my – you're already making NIL money. I don't get NIL nothing.
Yeah, we don't get NIL money. We don't even get Alston money.
But here's the thing. Like, I think it could work both ways because I'm going to tell you, if it's Shannon Sharp and you're doing Club Shay Shay and you're getting big guys on there to talk about, you're getting Cat Williams on there to spill the beans on all of Hollywood. Okay, that's one thing. But Shannon Sharp's not. There's no risk because he's really not involved in anything else. It's not like somebody go, well, you're fired or you're cut from the team. See, I don't know that you and I have always had this philosophy. Like some people say, why don't you get more players on the podcast? Because I don't feel like players can tell you the truth. Now, I think that sometimes a good interviewer could pull something out of a player. I don't know that you and I are great interviewers. So I don't know that I want to get a player on and just be milquetoast. Like, yeah, this team's coming up. They're very difficult. Well, it's Vanderbilt. I know, but they're tricky good.
We get Terrion on, and he'd be very entertaining, and we'd enjoy talking to him.
But he has to watch what he says.
But he has to watch what he says, and we can't ask him what we would love to ask.
Yeah,
because Alabama wouldn't want that, and we get why Alabama. We can't ask Terrion, okay, what's the game plan against Georgia?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't ask that stuff. Of course you can't. But they're entertaining. So I'm curious, like you, as to format, because a lot of stuff fans will want to know they won't talk about.
You got to talk about stuff that won't get them in trouble. And that's the positive, I think, for us is like why it doesn't cut into our own podcast market or whatever, which however low that is. But the reverse of it is these guys are so young, they may not know what they're not supposed to say.
Oh,
they may say some things early.
Alabama will be listening. I know enough to know that Alabama will be listening.
Yeah.
To make sure that I'm interested. I'm pulling for him. Hey, look, there's no bigger fans of Ryan Williams, Jalen Mbakwe, and Dre Kirkpatrick than us and everybody that listens to this show. So I'm curious, and I hope they do well. But I'm with Luke. Like, what is the format? What are y'all be talking about? Frankly, the show might be better if they didn't even pretend to talk about Alabama, and the whole thing was about whatever interests them, and whatever they're experts in. Apart from football, or maybe they do an NFL podcast and all they do is talk about the NFL. That would be interesting too, So,
but you got to be careful if you're them too, because eventually you want to go to the NFL, right? And
you don't want to
go back and look at your kindergarten homework and be like, what was this right here that you drew? So, one other thing that I wanted to throw out there, our friend Pigskin Petey, who is a loyal listener to the program, go follow him. He's a great follow on Twitter, by the way. He brought up a question to me recently, and he asked about. Hey, on social, all the schools have social media pages now, and on their social media or on their main pages, they have the players' social media, I should say. So they have that, but some of the schools have a Venmo option where you can just send a Venmo to the players, which is like, it blew my mind. But he's like, Alabama doesn't have that, and I don't know if everybody's doing it. I'd be okay if Alabama has it. I still find it to be very tricky.
I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying I don't know anything about that. It is still against the rules for boosters to just pay football players. That's against the rules. Now, if it's legitimate NIL or the booster is contributing to a collective that is handling player compensation and NIL, that's fine. But a booster making a direct payment to an Alabama player just because, hey, I love, Ryan Williams, you're my favorite player. I'm so glad you signed with Alabama. I'm going to Venmo you $300. That's not legal. It's still illegal. But a booster that owns, let's say, a carpet place. Hey, we're carpet people, and if you want carpet in your house, come hire us. We'll pick out the carpet, we'll put it down, and I want to pay Ryan Williams to put his face on our business card. You can do that. You can do that. Pay Ryan a lot. You just have to go through Ryan's agent or the collective, either way, to get that done. But you can't just Venmo players money. You can't do that.
Part of me was like, that doesn't even make sense because I'm old school and it doesn't make sense. Part of me is like, well, if I wanted to Venmo any other student, I could. So why couldn't I do that? And that seems like that's where this is trending.
Hey, you might could get away with it if you're literally Venmoing random students and one of them happens to be a football player. I don't think that's an extra benefit thing. That's a good question for compliance. But if you're like, hey, every day I give 10 random Alabama students $100, it don't matter if one of them's a football player every now and then. It wouldn't matter because that's not an extra benefit. You're doing it for everybody.
Yeah,
but no one's doing that.
And it just so happened that all 10 of those players happen to be Ryan Williams. All 10 of those students.
Every student at Alabama named Ryan Williams is going to get $100 from me.
All right.
But I will say real quickly, you can do this. I believe even on Alabama's website or a lot of websites, you can go to the roster and it gives you a few things to click on. And a lot of them, you can click on something that funnels you to the player's agent for marketing opportunities. That happens all the time. You can do that. And I think the schools can say, hey, if you want to contact our guys, marketing people, here's how you do it.
All right. That's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back sometime. So until then, talk to you later. Roll Tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.